Hello everybody, my name is Brianna Ruth, and today I am going to make instructions on how to make a baby taggy book. These are really neat for babies who are in the process of learning how to grasp things and they put things in their mouth. And the soft fabrics and ribbons they tend to really like, and so these are good toys that are safe and soft for them to chew on. Materials you need are your scissors and your pins. You're going to need 4 pieces of fabric that you're going to cut for the pages that will be 6 by 12. You're going to need 6 pieces of fabric that are 5 by 5. And those are what you're going to cut your shapes into for the pages of the book. You are going to need ribbon, 3 to 5 different kinds. Textures, patterns are what you're going to look for. Measuring tape, which is a must, and your sewing machine. You're going to need thread, your iron, Wonder Under, which is an adhesive that you'll use for your 5 by 5 squares to make your shapes. And then your seam ripper for mistakes, your rotary cutter, which is optional. I use my rotary cutter over scissors because it gives me more of a precise line. And then low loft batting, which will go in between the pages when you sew it, and it'll give it more of a plush feeling. Prepping is a big one when you're sewing, and you pick out your 7 different fabrics that you want in your book. You want to look for colors and patterns and textures. Babies tend to go for lots of color and soft textures. Washing your fabric is very important. It doesn't have to be a long cycle, it can be a short cycle, but you want to pre-shrink them. So when you do finish your project and you have to throw it in the washer, and you don't want your project shrinking. And then once it comes out, you're going to have to iron out the wrinkles, or it just makes it look cleaner. Also, keep in mind that when it does come out of the dryer, your edges will fray and ball up, so it's okay to cut those off. You go through phases when you're sewing. In phase 1, you need to take 4 of the fabrics that you choose and make your pages out of them, and cut them in 6 by 12 rectangles. Like I said, to cut the fabric, it's easier to use a rotary cutter, but scissors do just as well. You always, rule of thumb, measure twice, cut once. Once the large pieces are cut, set those aside and pick up the 3 other different types of fabric you picked out. Those will be the shapes of the book. They'll be the smaller 5 by 5 squares that we'll cut out. Take the batting and also cut out 2 6 by 12 rectangles. Set those aside. We'll use those later on, and then you'll cut your 5 by 5 squares and set those aside as well. Right here, the first picture is kind of like my ruler. You can use a measuring tape, a ruler, or this quilting square, and it's a 12 by 6, so I just basically cut along the lines. And then the picture to the right are my fabrics that I picked out for my book. Once you have everything cut out, you'll take your 5 by 5 squares and your underwonder and place the squares facing up onto the coarse side of the underwonder. Iron those squares on. Sometimes it can be a little tricky and sometimes it won't give, so you'll have to play around with it and make sure it's stuck. Once it's stuck, you need to flip the underwonder over and draw your shapes on the back. And then once you're done with that, you'll cut the squares out, and then off of the underwonder, and then cut your shapes out. And then you'll peel the back. And if it's still coarse, you want to run your iron through over it one more time, just so the adhesive is fully on that fabric. And then you'll iron the shapes on to each side of the big long squares, 3 of them, and then you'll set those aside. Then we'll pull out our ribbon and we'll cut about 4-inch lengths off the ribbon and set those aside for a few minutes. Next, we will grab our first page and our cover that we want and the batting, and we'll start. This is where we start layering. With those, you lay the blank fabric down on with the right side facing up, or you could do like the pictures show, whichever page you want, but make sure you have one of the long 6x12 pieces facing up. Then you will pin your ribbons onto the sides of them. You'll lay the next piece of fabric facing down. This is called right side to right side. So whenever you look at different patterns, you'll see right side to right side, and you'll know that the 2 right sides will be facing each other. And then you'll lay the batting either underneath or on top, and you'll run it right through the machine. But just before you get to your finishing point, you want to leave about 2 inches, and then you'll backstitch, which will just secure the stitching just a little bit on the edge. Once you're done with that, you will clip your corners diagonally. This will give once the pages are inside out, it'll give the corners a little bit more. It'll show the corners a little bit better. Then you'll pull your fabric out, and it'll look like this as you're pulling it out through that 2-inch hole. You want to close up your hole after you've pulled out your pages. And then once you've done all of your pages, you're going to lay them on top of one another. And you're going to sew 2 lines. I don't know if you can see that. It's right here. You will sew 2 lines, and it's about 1 inch, 1.5 inches apart. This will be considered the binding of your book. With that, your project is finished, and this is the ending. And so you have the tags right here, and that's where the babies like to pull on and chew on. And you have the different shapes and different textures that they like to bite on. And here is my user, my son, and I think he likes it. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it helps in the future. Thank you.